Is it time to triple captain Haaland with that amazing fixture against Ipswich? What to do with Nkunku and Barco in your FPL teams? We're going to discuss all of that in today's Game Week 2 team selection video. So as always, if you look forward to it, make sure you do drop a like. Aim for 300 on this video. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you do smash that subscribe button. So enough waffling. Let's get into today's video. So first up, a quick review on Game Week 1, 63 points for the team, which to be honest with you, I am absolutely delighted with. I think anything over the average, you should deem a fantastic start. You can see a rank of 2.8 million. We're going to come on to that in a minute on how it is so close between 2.5 million and 1 million, for example. So in terms of the team, we need to remember that Game Week 1 is one of the hardest game weeks of the season. We are going off pre-season information. Players are still coming back into their respective teams, like Man City, for example. So we are only going off very small information. Each and every game week that passes from now, we are going to have such a larger sample size of data to come to conclusions with players. So that is really important. In some ways, it gets a little bit easier from now. So that is your one positivity in this video if you need to take away anything. So 63 points, pretty happy. Henderson with a 2-pointer. Crystal Palace now selling Anderson is a little bit of a concern. Is that going to worsen the Crystal Palace team? We need to assess that, but no concerns about doing a goalkeeper transfer right now. I am happy to stick with Henderson. Saliba, Hall and Trent. Good work from those boys with clean sheets. Hall, very lucky, obviously, with that red card to Fabian Schär in the 30th minute. That easily could have been a clean sheet wipeout for that team. I expect Hall to remain in that Newcastle team, even though he was a little bit ropey. In terms of the midfielders, Saka and Jota coming in clutch. I was expecting that from those in their respective Game Week 1 fixtures. Little bit disappointed with Nkunku coming off before the 60th minute. More to talk about him in this video. And Morgan Rogers, even though he got a 2-pointer, played the full 90 minutes, watched the game. He looked fantastic. More than happy to keep him at 5 million. I do think he is the standout option in the game, and I'm really glad I went for him. Finally, the front three. Haaland with the 7-pointer, thank God, after the Mo Salah haul. Isak with the captaincy return of 5 points, doubled to 10. But that could have been so much better if Newcastle didn't go down to 10 men. So that one is just a little bit skewed. And Dominic Solanke with the 2-pointer. That could have been so much more for anybody that watched the game. In terms of the bench, saw enough from Fulham at times to think they could be a good investment, but we'll see on Smith Rowe's minutes going forward. And of course, the news of Barco going to Sevilla is a problem. We'll touch on that in a minute. So 63 points, 2.8 million. I'm just going to put a screenshot here of how that deems in terms of rank, because this is taken from live FPL. And I want to show you this to think to yourself, if you're at a rank right now where, you know, it's not looking great, it's not bad. Honestly, you can see here that I am currently 4 points away from being ranked 2 million, and I am 10 points away from being ranked 1 million. So literally all it takes is one haul from a player, and I'm going to be jumping from 2.8 million all the way to 1 million in the world. So it is so tightly congested right now. You do not have to be concerned about your rank. There is going to be so many swings in the upcoming game weeks. Do not panic. Wherever you are, you have still got plenty of opportunities to claw it back in the next few weeks. So looking forward to Game Week 2, I just wanted to highlight maybe 8 things that you need to know going into this game week. A few things that have happened between Game Week 1 and now that could impact your FPL team. So first up, the big news, Barco is leaving Brighton on loan to Sevilla, which looks like obviously a problem for 23% of FPL managers who currently own him. Now on the next section, I'll be deep diving into exactly what I plan on doing with Barco, but you need to know that your 4 million option in Barco is not going to be an FPL option basically from now onwards, which is a slight concern. Expect him to be red flagged in the game after this. Number 2, Chelsea have bought João Felix. We don't have an official FPL price right now. I'm not sitting here saying that he is an FPL option, but the impact of him coming to Chelsea is going to have a knock-on effect on other players. In particular, a certain Christopher Nkunku, who we already had concerns about coming off before the 60th minute in Game Week 1. We now have another player who could play in the centre attacking mid-role, can play as a forward, direct competition to Nkunku. How is that going to impact Nkunku going forward? Again, we're going to discuss that directly in the next section because this is quite a big topic. But the one thing I do need to state is that Chelsea do also have a Conference League match tonight where we should gain some more information. Number 3, Man City have all but confirmed they have signed Ilkay Gundogan, a player that we know historically has been fantastic FPL value. Again, we don't have the price for him yet, but that could directly impact some of the players that we're looking to buy in this Man City team. So just be cautious of that. It's going to be another player in the mix for Pep to pick. Probably needs to build up some fitness for this Man City team, but equally wouldn't be surprised if Pep threw him straight in, because of course Gundogan, understanding this system as such a reliable, experienced player, this is a great signing for Man City. Next up, Porro went off injured in game week 1 very late in the game. We haven't had a confirmed report on whether it is a severe injury or not, but there were doubts about him going into game week 2. Now, obviously, if you own Porro, you wait until the Friday press conferences, because Everton at home is such a great fixture. You do want a piece of that, and you'd be devastated if you sold Pedro Porro going into game week 2 and then you found out he was readily available. I think you'd have to hear he is out for weeks for you to sell him. I think he's a hold, even if there are some doubts about him, and you just have fingers crossed that he does play. Number 5, triple captain Haaland is on a lot of people's radar. It needs to be said, because we're going to touch on this again in the next section, because it is a really big topic. But you need to note, if you have Haaland, you do need to have a consideration about triple captain, because Ipswich at home is absolutely a viable fixture. 6, Quansah, if you own him right now and you don't know this, fell in price to 4.4 million. A bit of a disaster for those that did own him. Kind of double punished there. Started in game week 1, looked great. Hauled off at halftime, and now his price fallen to 4.4 million. The main concern about this, and it's more of a general kind of thing that you need to note, is that players who fall in price are problems, because now, if you don't have any money in the bank, you can't do Quansah to a 4.5 million option like Robinson at Fulham. And there is a problem with that, because of course you now kind of have to wait until you either do multiple transfers to upgrade him to a 4.5, or you basically hold on until they're wildcard, or of course you just keep Quansah. I think if you've now let the price fall, you just accept it and keep him in your teams for game week 2 and pray that he comes back into this slot team. Number 7, Watkins the most sold going into game week 2, and Havertz the second most bought. This is a perfect example of reactionary transfers. Watkins, yes, has Arsenal in game week 2 at home, but after that, the fixtures are phenomenal. And if you were one of the managers that bought Watkins in game week 1, you knew the fixtures were tough, and you knew that he had 0 preseason minutes. My advice, if you still have Watkins, is to keep him, because trust me, a lot of managers are going to go there in game week 3 for those fantastic long-term fixtures. And while Havertz delivered a 12-point haul in game week 1, which was brilliant, those fixtures coming up for Arsenal are terrible. I believe 3 of the next 4 are away against some top teams in the league. Just isn't the right time to be selling Watkins, who's coming into fantastic fixtures, to buy Havertz, who's coming into terrible fixtures. So just wanted to highlight there if you were in that predicament. And finally, a little bit of a spoiler alert, but rolling your free transfer in game week 2 is a powerful position to be in. You can have up to 5 free transfers this season, and with an early wildcard, you could get yourself in a real ideal position where maybe you wildcard in game week 4 to 6 while maintaining those transfers in the bank. That is the ideal situation to be in. Now, of course, if you've got problems in your team, then of course using the transfer is the right move, but do not be making a transfer for transfer's sake. If your team looks good, keep that transfer, roll it into game week 3, give yourself a bit of flexible options in the foreseeable future. So next up, the game week 2 hot topics. These 3 definitely deserve their own section, because they are the 3 most talked about things, and hopefully I can go into a bit of detail on each to help you come to your own decision going into game week 2. So first up, should you be selling Barco if you owned him? Nearly 25% of the game own this 4 million defender of Brighton, who is now confirmed to be going on loan to Sevilla, unless Fabrizio is stitching us up here, but it is sounding like it is locked in. This is a problem. Now, one thing I do need to address right now is there's a lot of talk about Barco's price being frozen at 4 million, and I haven't seen anything to suggest that this is absolutely true. We've seen other situations where players have gone out on loan, like Lukaku, for example, and his prices continue to fall from 7 million, I believe, last time, down to something like 6.8. So we have had players in the past recently who have had a very similar situation to Barco, and their prices actually fallen. So anybody right now that is telling you the price is frozen at 4, just be cautious. I don't think they actually have absolute clarity on that situation, and we do need to monitor his price. But all in all, should you be selling him? I think it's a waste of a transfer. Realistically, there might be a few managers out there that bought Barco and were expecting to play him each and every game week. I think that was a mistake in general. If you're one of those managers, then yes, I do think selling him, going to someone probably like a Harwood Bellis at 4 million is the right move. But 9 times out of 10, I think most managers here have Barco as just a third bench option like myself. And if that is the case, I think we just grin and bear it. I don't think it is worth bringing a transfer in for Barco to Harwood Bellis if you're just going to be benching him each and every game week. Keep the transfer in the bank. Pray that his price actually does get frozen. Again, we don't have clarity on that. And if his price falls, it is what it is. We all know we're probably going to wildcard in the opening 6 game weeks. Then we address that situation once we come to it. Yes, we might lose a little bit of value, but I just do not think it is worth using one of those precious free transfers. Next up, what to do with Nkunku. I think after game week 1, a lot of us have been looking at the hindsight and thinking to ourselves, it was Man City, he's come off early, it's not a problem, we expected this. And yes, I do agree with all of those points, but the signing of João Felix, the continued rumours of Osimhen can only be bad stuff for Nkunku going forward. I'm going to be honest. I have been incredibly bullish on Nkunku as an FPL option, and at 6.5 million, I still think at times he will emerge as brilliant value. But with all this uncertainty right now at Chelsea, we've seen him in game week 1, Maresca play a midfield 3 of Caicedo, Enzo and Lavia. Not ideal for Nkunku as he is not a left winger in this Maresca team. If he played inside forwards, then happy days, but Maresca doesn't with that left winger because he has no left back to overlap that position. So it's not great if Nkunku plays as an out-and-out left winger. I think that's where we're going to see Pedro Neto come in. Therefore, Nkunku basically only has 2 positions to fight for. The number 10/8 role or the forward. That is it. That is the only 2 positions that Nkunku could play. The problem, they have Marc Guéhi, Jackson, now João Felix, Dewsbury Hall and Nkunku. And all of those are going to get minutes at some point. So what should you do with Nkunku? The big thing, he is going to be playing tonight, probably gets some minutes in their Conference League game. So monitor the lineup, see what happens. I'm doing a video tomorrow, so I will update you with that situation. For me, I think as long as Nkunku doesn't play 90 minutes tonight, because I think that would be a concern, we keep him. We hold him for game week 2, gain some information. Hopefully it's a positive performance and we can keep him for game week 3 at home against Palace. And then game week 4 onwards, where people are starting to look at maybe doing transfers or wildcards, we can reassess for our teams. My head is that we're going to keep Nkunku for the next 3 and then decide what to do. But tonight's Conference League game is very, very important. And of course, the price of João Felix. Finally, should you triple captain in game week 2? This is something that has been on a lot of people's minds right now. So first thing we need to caveat by saying is that in previous seasons, I will sit here and tell you, do not triple captain this early in the season. We are going to get a load of double game weeks later on because the cup competitions impact Premier League games. That isn't so much the case this year. With the scheduling, it means that we're going to get less double and blank game weeks, unless we do see some crazy stuff happen, which we have seen over the last few years. We've seen the Queen die, we've seen COVID. Anything can happen, but based on what we know as of right now, we are not going to get as many double game weeks as what we saw over the last few seasons. And it makes a triple captain on Haaland actually quite viable at home against Ipswich. When I think to myself, who is the one of the few players that I would triple captain, it's going to be Haaland and Mo Salah, most likely. Then I look at the fixtures. Well, it has to be a home game. And who are the teams that I want to target? Well, newly promoted teams are absolutely top of the agenda. So that's Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester. Tick, we've got that situation. And is the player fully fit with no risk of rotation? Absolutely, because Haaland is literally the only forward they have. So when you put it all together, he's fully fit. They have a promoted team at home. It kind of adds all up to a triple captain. The only concern is that we will get a double game week at some point. Now, of course, we need to use our bench boost at some point, most likely in a double for managers. So that is one double game week used up. So you need to basically sit here and say to yourself, do you want to hold off till later on in the season? I do think there will be another opportunity to triple captain. There will be another home game for City to go for. Hopefully Haaland is fully fit for that game and no risk of rotation. But I have to be honest, if you're sat there right now and you have a gut feeling that Haaland is going to go off against Ipswich, last season, I tell you no. This season, I would say go for it. I do not think it is a terrible move. Triple captain, all in all, is quite an overrated chip. It isn't going to make or break your season. For me, personally, I think I will wait until later on in the hope we do get an ideal double game week. But that's me being quite a safe manager. If you want to be aggressive in the opening weeks, triple captain Haaland, I think, is a perfect strategy. So moving into my Game Week 2 team selection, a quick reminder, we've got 1 free transfer available, 0 in the bank, and a few problems in the shape of Barco and Nkunku. So my goalkeeper and defence basically are picking themselves this game week. We've got Henderson between the sticks against West Ham. Don't think that is going to be a guaranteed clean sheet. With them losing Anderson, West Ham bringing Fulkrug into the team. Kudos looks sharp. I think West Ham could actually do okay against Crystal Palace here, but hopefully we do get our first clean sheet of the season with Dean Henderson. In terms of the back three, Robinson and Trent picked themselves. I always was bringing Robinson in for that fantastic home fixture against Leicester, and Trent at home against Brentford just looks incredible, especially off the back of that second half for Trent, creating so many opportunities. He had an expected assist of 1, so if he could bring anything like that into this Brentford team, then this is going to be a great game week. The big deliberation, of course, is having Saliba away against Aston Villa in my team. Now, I see a lot of people with a bit of a benching headache this week. Obviously, with my team, I currently have Barco and Lewis Hall as my alternatives to Saliba. Of course, Barco isn't a consideration. Now he isn't an FPL option. But Lewis Hall definitely is one that needs to be thought about away against Bournemouth. But as of right now, I am leaning towards the Arsenal defence. I just feel like when I'm looking to put in a defender, even though it is Villa away, Watkins didn't look his best. So I don't know if we're going to get the best version of Ollie Watkins. And naturally, even though Villa obviously got the win in game week 1, I don't think it is the polished version of Villa because simply Watkins isn't fully fit. So if Arsenal were ever going to get a clean sheet away against Aston Villa, I think it is going to be in game week 2. So I'm backing Saliba for this fixture. I think just because of the red card for Fabian Schär, Newcastle not landing Mark Gahey, that is just going to be a weaker defence going into it. And Bournemouth, all accounts, actually look quite good in game week 1, even though they did lose Solanke. So I'm backing the Arsenal defence. And I actually do think it could be a bit of a differential this week because some managers actually have a benching headache, and rightly so, they are benching the Arsenal defender. But if we can get that clean sheet, this could be a real good differential week to have someone like a Saliba or a Gabriel in your team. So all in all, defence and goalkeeper kind of pick themselves. Take a look at my midfield for game week 2, and as you can see, Nkunku is surviving right now. I really do need to state that we're recording this on Thursday, haven't had the Conference League game. Things could change, injuries could arise, or just Nkunku could have a stinker, and we are worried about his minutes for game week 2. But as of right now, I am content with keeping Nkunku in my team. It really does feel like one of those sort of moments where he is either going to be incredible as the weeks progress, or he is going to fall off a cliff. I'm hoping it is the first one that I mentioned. So Nkunku is going to stay for Wolves away, but also I don't think it's an incredible fixture either. Saka, of course, I'm playing in every fixture that I own him away against Aston Villa. Not a great fixture, but I back Saka in basically any fixture that he does play. Now, the big one is going to be Smith Rowe at home against Leicester. He is always coming into the team for this fixture. That was the plan when we had him in as a rotation with Morgan Rogers. Rogers was going to play game week 1, Smith Rowe game week 2. Came off early, but we were expecting that. Marco Silva come out in pre-season and said that Smith Rowe is building up minutes. He's going to need some minutes in the tank. Got that in game week 1. So hopefully we do see another start for Smith Rowe in this game. Of course, Fulham have signed Sander Berg, who will likely come in for centre mid, which will offer competition to Andreas Pereira. The only problem there is, does Pereira then compete for Smith Rowe in the 10? Or is he actually taking the place of Pereira? We will see in the coming game weeks. But I think for game week 2, it is fine to start Smith Rowe. And hopefully we can get some returns in that game. And Jota at home against Brentford again. Really solid underlying numbers. I didn't mention that those 3 for Liverpool up front had a combined XG of around 2. So any of these guys could go off at any point. I'm hoping I have the right one in Diogo Jota. And part of me does think, can I get myself a second Liverpool midfielder in my team? As of right now, I just can't squeeze it in. So all in all, really happy with the midfield. Pretty much picks itself. Moving into my game week 2 forwards, and of course, I am not selling any of these 3. Erling Haaland at home against Ipswich, of course, we've spoken about not only a captain option, but a triple captain option for our FPL teams. Alexander Isak away against Bournemouth. Let's hope nobody gets a red card in that Newcastle team and we can get a full game from Isak's potential. And finally, Solanke at home against Everton. I'm not panicking at all with Solanke. Really good performance. Importantly, actually stayed on for the full game while Andrew's making lots of changes to try and get the result. He actually kept Solanke on, which is only a good thing for our FPL team. So happy with Solanke at home against Everton. It was always going to be the first two, and then we reassess in game week 3 when he is away against Newcastle. But I am happy with that front three going into game week 2. So to confirm my team for game week 2, you can see the bench here. Bentley in goal, never coming into my team ever. Lewis Hall on the bench away against Bournemouth. I'm content with starting Saliba away against Aston Villa. Morgan Rogers on the bench at home against Arsenal, but I'm really happy to have him as a squad player in my team. And as you can see, Barco is remaining in my team. I spoke about it. I really don't think it is worth a transfer unless you're in a position where your other defenders are either injured or just don't play for their respective teams. Then a transfer might be forced. But for my team, he can happily sit as the third sub week in, week out until I choose to wildcard in my teams. As you can see, confirmed, I am rolling the transfer unless the only thing I can see changing my mind is that in Nkunku, some terrible news comes out and it looks like we need to force our hand and get rid of him because at 6.5 million, it is enough money to justify going somewhere else as an alternative. And finally, my game week 2 captaincy situation. And as you can see right now, I am just opting for the captain on Haaland, not the triple captain. As I spoke about previously in the video, I absolutely think triple captain Haaland at home against Ipswich, when you know he is fully fit with no European football, is completely fine to do so. But being a Boro manager, I just know, even though they are far and few between, we are going to get a double game week later on in the season. And just that hope of having an incredible double game week for a Man City or a Liverpool is enough for me to keep the triple captain in my back pocket for now. But as I spoke about already, if you want a triple captain Haaland, it is the best fixture pretty much on paper based on bookies odds that you can go for. And I do not berate anybody that wants to go there. My vice captain is going to be on Diogo Jota right now. I think he probably has the highest upside of all the players, but let's be real. I'm expecting Haaland to start this game, play pretty much 90 minutes, and probably inevitably bag a hat-trick and make me regret not triple captaining him. But for me, just to confirm, I am looking to captain Erling Haaland, and that is going to be the complete team going into game week 2. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 2 team selection video. As you can see, pretty straightforward with the transfer being rolled. But of course, I will be doing a video tomorrow with my final team thoughts. Importantly, going through the press conferences. That could be quite a big one with the transfer window deadline looming. We might get some information and some juicy gossip that is going to help us going forward in our FPL team. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please do consider dropping a like and of course, smashing that subscribe button for daily fantasy content. And I will see you in the next video. Any questions, pop them in the comment section. Take care. Have a good day. Cheers.